You're struggling with objection handling because you have low standards. You have low standard for yourself. You have low standard for the prospects. And you might think that, oh, I just need to know what to say. I just got to know the cool reframes. But what if you found out that that's not the real reason? Listen, I became a top producer at one of the largest sales training companies, and I outsold people who had way more experience than I did. They may have been more skilled than me, but because I had higher standards. So what does it look like? Let's say you get an objection. Maybe you take them through 20 minutes of discovery, maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. And then you get to the price, and then the prospect at the end gives you the, hey man, this sounds good. Yeah, let me just think about it. I'll get back to you. The dreaded think about objection. So when the prospect gives you that objection, your stomach tightens up a little bit. You're like, ah, shit, another one. Why does it keep happening? And so you may ask a few back and forth questions, right? Hey, like, what didn't I think about? Not a problem. Is the value there? Is the money there? Does that work? Hopefully you're doing that at least. And the prospect may still be adamant. Yeah, no, it's just, I just have to think about things. Maybe this just give you that. Okay. At this point, maybe you probably just book a follow-up call or whatever. And maybe you just hope and pray that the prospect just shows up. I hope they actually move forward. And then what he gets? Maybe the prospect no-shows. Maybe they send you a text or email saying that, hey, thank you for your time, but I just don't think now is the right time. And when you get that, your stomach tightens up even more. You're confused because they're the one that booked on your calendar. They're the one that said they have a problem. They're the one that said they want to do this. And you're just confused. What do you mean now's not the right time? You said it was a good time. What did I do wrong? Like, why am I not doing this? What am I missing here? And you might be thinking like, oh, I just got to know what to say. I just got to know the cool reframes. And those things help for sure. And you should absolutely do that. But the question is, why did you hop off the call in the first place? And again, you might be saying, oh, I just didn't know what else to do. I just didn't know what else to say. And step number one, go get the right training to figure out what to say and what to do. It doesn't have to be mine. I don't care. But at least you make sure you go do that. But also at the same time but why? Because as an example, let's say someone you really, really care about, someone that you love, gets very ill, knock on wood. But let's say they get very ill and they need to take this one pill. And this one pill is how they cure the illness. And let's say the person that you care about, they say, yeah, no, I don't really want to take that right now. And then to take it now. Would you really rather just, oh, sounds good. Let me just I'll talk later. Oh, sounds good. Just let me know later. Would you be doing that? Would you be saying like, I just don't want to say it? No, you'd be saying some shit. So why is this happening? Well, it's because, again, going back to the standard thing and the conviction. Because if you have high standard for the prospect, meaning that they need to do something. If you have high standard for yourself, meaning that you're going to sit there and help them actually take action on their goals because that's what your job is, then would you really let that person go off that easily off the hook? I mean, yeah, word tracks and reframes and all those kinds of things, absolutely know the objection handling process for sure. At the same time though, if you really have the level of high standard for yourself and the prospect, then you'd be saying something. You'd be yapping something, right? And so that's the biggest mistake that I see all the time whenever I look at closure sales calls or role plays or whatever it may be. They're letting the prospect off the hook too easily. And this happens because of different reasons, right? We talked about the standard thing. Also, another thing we talked about is that maybe the closer maybe you feel a bit weird, am I being too pushy, so on and so forth. Yeah, but if you let them go, well, what's the chance of them coming back? You're hoping and praying at that point. If you try that, you're doing something. And so let's talk about why are you letting them go off the hook too easily, right? Because of the standard thing. It's because you're probably not holding yourself to higher standards. And therefore, it becomes more difficult for you to hold the prospects to a higher standard. As an example, a lot of closure, pretty much everybody thinks and says that, oh, I'm trying my best. Yes, you're trying your best, that's good. But if you trying your best is not yielding you the results that you want, it just means that your best is not good enough. And I just remember Hermoji saying that one time. It's like, that makes total fucking sense. And we can say we're trying our best and we can justify it to ourselves all the time. But at the end of the day, we just got to get the job done. That's what we do as closers. That's what we do as sales professionals. That's what we do as men, right? And so as an example, if you are not urgently really moving to your goal and taking massive action to your goal and really trying hard, really committing, really obsessing, then it'll be more difficult for you to do that with other people, right? And so if you're just hopping on the call every day, doing the same shit over and over again, maybe watching some basic YouTube videos, hoping that it'll change. If the prospect says, yeah, this sounds good, man, I'm just gonna go watch some videos and let me get back to you. Could you really try to overcome that objection? I mean, yeah, you could have some word tracks and reframes, but probably not gonna land that well. Why is that? Because it's lacking conviction. And why are you lacking conviction? Because, well, your standards are low. You're the one doing it. We talked about sales as a mirror, right? We talk about that quite often. But it's true. Because how could you help people get out of their own way if you don't get out of your own way with any level of conviction and certainty? Like, yeah, you can watch some videos and memorize some word tracks or some tactics for sure. The words can be same, but it's probably not going to land that well because you're not meaning what you say. You're not saying what you mean. And so that's something that we emphasize over and over and over again with our students as well. That you got to mean what you say. You got to say what you mean. I tried that too. I've tried memorizing different word tracks that I learned from my mentors. Like, okay, cool. This one. I'll say it out loud. But I wouldn't really know what I was trying to convey in that word track with that reframe. And I don't even know why I'm doing it. And because of that, of course, it doesn't land that well. I guess from a mentor is working well. What's the difference there is that, I'm not meaning what I'm saying, or I'm not saying what I'm meaning. Because I'm like a conviction in that thing. And so that's the thing. A lot of times objection handling reframes don't land it well because that's a side note. But in terms of you even hopping off the call, yeah, you gotta have high standard for yourself, right? Number one, as a sales professional, we just sit there, we sit through the discomfort. We talked about previously in the other videos that's as a sales professional, we're not allowed to feel awkward. As a sales professional, we're not allowed to feel flustered. We're not allowed to do that. That is illegal because we're borderline psychopaths. Great closers are borderline psychopaths. We talked about that too. And so knowing that to be true, even if it feels a bit awkward to challenge that prospect, even if it feels a bit awkward to help them see that them not taking action doesn't help them, we just sit there in the discomfort and do that. Eventually, you're going to get numb to it, I promise. That's when they say great closers are psychopaths, right? Not literally, calm down, Karen, but it almost be like that, right? There are times to empathize for sure, but we're not sympathizing to the prospect's objections. Because what are objections? Objections are simply concern. And so concerns are happening because prospects, it's normal. People have concerns. You, me, all of us have concerns. But also at the same time, prospects have a certain level of limitations with themselves. As an example, prospects are prospects for a reason. Now, what that means is that, let's say you sell a biz op, helping 9 to 5 people start a business. They may have said, I've always wanted to do my own thing. For how long? For 2 years. Okay, cool. What have you done about it? Nothing. I've just been doing research and watching videos. You haven't done anything? You know what I mean? And so prospects are prospects for a reason because it logically doesn't make sense, right? Once it stops logically making sense, by the way, that's when objection starts to become more fear-based or smoke screen, so on and so forth. Because a logistical objection is really genuine, is a valid reason. They want to do it, they would do it, it's just they didn't have the money. If they had the money, they would fucking do it. Genuinely. Not just saying it, but they genuinely. But once it stops logically making sense, that's when we're getting into more fear territory. Okay? Now, going back to that, if this person has not been doing anything about their quote-unquote goal, are you just letting them just off the hook too easily, or are you challenging them on that? And when I say challenging them on it, I don't just mean to just be confrontational, just get into a boxing match. What I mean by that is help them see, point it out, put a mirror in front of their face that, hey, brother, does this make sense to you? Because it's not making sense to me. Help me understand. Because is you letting them off the hook too easily, is that really helping them? Probably not, right? It's not helping you. You're not making commissions. It's not helping the company. Company's not making money. It's not helping the prospect because obviously the prospect, they stay with the same what? They stay with the same problems and their same life situations. And so I think we've swung too far the other way where people have marketed high-ticket closing. It's fucking sales, right? Being a sales professional. But it's marketed as a high-ticket closer. And so people come into the industry thinking that it's some sort of lifestyle business, lifestyle side hustle. It's fucking not. If you want that, go to drop shipping or something, right? So don't you think it's weird that is anything worth having? Is that supposed to be easy? It's not. So our job is to sit in the discomfort and help the prospects realize that's not really helping them, right? We're not overcoming their objections. We're simply asking questions so the prospect overcome their own objection. Now, in terms of the nitty gritty, we're going to talk about in a different video. We'll also have a video as well. I'll probably link it down in the below. Is there objection handling decision tree, the nitty gritty tactics on what to say. But let's talk about the inner game side of things because I think that matters too. Because sometimes you may know that you should do it, but you don't for whatever reason. So we got to talk about that too. And so it really goes back to conviction thing again. I remember I was, at one point, I was talking to a sales guy. His name's David. So when I was talking to David, when I was first starting out in sales, and he was talking about a story that, you guys are letting the prospects off the hook too easily. Same thing, I'm talking to you. And he's like, well, if you really believe in what you do, in terms of what you sell, what you offer to people, if you believe in your ability, if you believe that the prospect needs to do something, then isn't it almost it's our job to help them see that. Now, it's not our job to save their fucking life. We're not their Lord and Savior, right? But it's really our job is to help them really make the actions they need to take in order for them to help to get to their goal. So let's talk about this one story. When he was selling like a coach offers, right? It was a business helping coaches scale their coaching business, essentially. And so one prospect hopped on, and David, the sales guy, is talking to the prospect. David asked, what's your coaching program about? What do you help people with? And the prospect says, I help people with cancer. It's like, oh, okay, tell me more about that. And the prospect goes, now, I don't help people live longer. That's not what I do. But I help their last living lives the most peaceful and least painful it can be. Because when you have cancer, is obviously very, very painful with chemo and stuff like that. The person helps them with the pain and the last few weeks or months less painful, right? To enjoy the best bit. And then they also said, well, funny if most of our clients do end up living longer than what the doctor said they would live because of that whole experience. And when David said that, okay, so and this is legit. And then the prospects, yeah, let me show you. And then he's showing me all these different things. And when David saw that, he said, okay, I don't care what happens at the end of this call. I make sure this person buys. I make sure this person buys because that's the only way this person is going to not only make more money for themselves, but this person can help more people because what this person does is so powerful. So David said, I didn't care if my internet cut off or their internet cut off. I was going to find out their physical address and show up at their house. It's like, hey, we need to do this. So that's a very extreme example. But why? Because of extreme level of conviction and holding each other to a higher standard. And so it doesn't have to be that you have to sell as like coach offers or whatever it may be. That doesn't matter. What if we had that attitude with every single call? What if? Even if you didn't know all the word traction in the world, even if you didn't know all the reframes in the world, could you close more deals? Would you have more conviction in yourself? Probably, right? Because the only thing that changed was that. Now, obviously, have both. If you had both, right? The inner game side of things in terms of the conviction, the certainty, and the higher standard, as well as the actual tactical and the process side of things, if you had both, imagine what I could do, right? Now, going back to that, some people just have low standards. Now, in real sales system or implementation program, I drop in there some sales call recordings when I was selling for different offers where I cannot share on YouTube publicly for different obvious reasons. So there's one sales call recording there where it's just only objection handling. Now, that call recording is about 70 minutes long, okay? Only objection handling for 70 minutes long. And sometimes students ask, hey, I went through the sales call recording, Brian, with that one call. And how are you doing that for more than 1 hour? And the prospect is still there. First of all, how are you going for that long? Number one. Number two, why is the prospect not hanging up? Number three, the prospect thanks you for basically overcoming their objection or handling their objection. How are you doing that? Now, to be fair, some people hang up on me too, right? I'm a human being. I'm not some invincible superhero. But the reason why is because number one, I have high standard for myself that I will sit here as long as I have the time. Right? If I have to go to another call, fine, I'll go to another call. But while I have the time, I'm going to sit here and plant my feet to the ground and then just do my thing. Like, that doesn't mean I'm going to be like, hey, buy now. I'm not doing that, right? I'm sitting back. It's like, hey, let's talk about this, right? And there's more technical way of going about this. But that aside, I'm just going to sit here because that's my fucking job. I had high standard for myself. Even when I was sick, I was doing that because I had high standard for myself. No, that's just who I am. And also another thing that Matt Ryder, my former boss, when I was 7-12, instilled into us too as well, is the soldier with the camera on mentality. When you go into a war zone in the military, they have a camera attached to the uniform, right? So they know if you're actually fighting in the war zone, in the battlefield, or if you're just going away. And the same thing is that when Matt was having a sales agency, Sales Sniper, all of his sales calls were being listened to by his staff, by his head of sales, by his closers. And so because of that, he could not just, oh, okay, well, feel free. He could not do that, right? He could not give up too soon, even if he felt tired, because, well, I have accountability, literal accountability, because other people are going to listen to the people that I'm training. And so when I heard that, I was like, okay, I had the same mentality too, meaning that even if I was tired, after like, this is like 5th call today, 6th call today, 7th call today, whatever it may be. Even if I'm sick as a dog, I still did that. I still overcame and sat there. Even if I sounded sick, and if I felt like shit, I still kept doing that because it's still better than nothing. And I kept doing it. And also another thing too, is I realized the calls didn't just spawn out of thin air. Right? The sales call. The sales call was generated by the business, and the business spent money and time and effort generating the sales calls onto your calendar. On most offers, it takes about $100 to $300 to generate a sales call booked onto your calendar. Okay, let's say 200 on average. Now, let's say you have 8 calls booked a day. So do the math. 200 times 8, what is that? $1,600 per day. If you work 5 days a week, what is that? That is 1.6K times that by 5. So what is that? It's like 8K a week. If my Asian math is right, 8K a week. 4 weeks in a month. What is that? 32K a month. In a year, what is that? Well, that's about 350, 400 grand a year. That's how much the business is spending. It's not your fault, obviously, because you just didn't know this stuff. Because people are marketing this as like, a business opportunity, whatever maybe. It's like, hey, like 4 calls a day, warm leads, pajamas, beach. It's not that. It's an actual profession. So business is spending that much money. What about your setters? Are your setters busting their ass booking those calls into your calendar? Hopefully they are. And my last offer, the setters, a lot of them were based in the Philippines. And there's one DM setter at the time when I was there, they were the top DM setter. And I respected person a lot. And then now she's a person that lives in the Philippines. And you never guess the top DM setter for the company, like clockwork, booking 12 calls a day. And they're working from midnight to 12 p.m. because of the time zone. Because they're in the Philippines, they're working US hours. And that person's working 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And that person has a family. And then at one point, I just admired that a lot. So I asked that person, hey, don't you ever get tired? And they're like, no, I think it's an honor. I think it's an honor that I have this opportunity to work for a company like this and have this opportunity to really work online. I don't have to go into a regular job office. And I can make pretty good money. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that I work with amazing people, especially like yourself, that humble me a lot. Now, from a hierarchical standpoint, you may think like, oh, closer, you should be, DM setter. What do you have to learn from the DM setter? Probably nothing. But no, I learned a lot. And when I heard that, number one, I respected that person. And second of all, knowing that this person's busting their ass from midnight to 12 p.m. every day to book calls into my calendar, I could not slack off. How could I slack off, man? The person has a family trying to feed their family, working from midnight to 12 p.m. My hours weren't the most ideal either. I was going from like 4 p.m. to 1 a.m., 2 a.m., but it's not like midnight to 12 p.m. I was like, wow, that's accountability. So therefore, even on the call, I'm feeling tired. The prospect's giving me all the different shit. Hey man, I'm not gonna do this. Listen, let's have a call tomorrow. I gotta think about it. I gotta talk to my wife. That wasn't the only reason. That was another element in that whole equation though. So, well, no, I'm gonna sit here because that person worked hard and the business is working hard. I'm gonna be working hard. So that's standards, right? But also what about for yourself? And if the prospect is mentioning that they have these problems, they want this, they have all these different aspirations. People have all these different things that they say they want to do. However, a lot of times, people's ambition and actions do not match, which is why a lot of people are not where they want to be. Simple, right? And that's even for myself too. There's different levels, right? Elon Musk could look at me and be like, hey dude, why are your standards so low, right? So that's the whole point of having a mentor, right? Is breaking those beliefs and helping you see that they have that. And I think it's environment too. You gotta have a high standard for yourself and you gotta be around other people that are high standard for themselves. As an example, in real sales system, whenever I see a student taking certain actions or a belief that's not helping them, whether it be with their sales or in life in general, I point that out. So that way I don't allow them to buy into that. As an example, we had one student, very hungry, very ambitious, want to get to their goal. And they say, hey Brian, I want to get to my, I'm having a hard time finding the time to really sleep and train. I was like, okay, let's break down your day. Okay, so we're breaking down his calendar pretty much hour by hour, day by day. And then, okay, so man, your hours are not adding up. You're doing this much at work, you're doing this much in this, it's not adding up. What's going on? He's like, well, actually, I'm playing some video games and watching YouTube. Okay, how much time a day are you spending on video games and watching YouTube? He said, 6 hours a day. No fucking wonder you're having a hard time finding the time to sleep or train. So would it be a crazy idea if we got rid of that? It's like, no. So what do we gotta do? Oh, I gotta delete that off my computer. Right. And download this app. Opal, by the way, it's an app, limits different app usage, app blocking app, right? Okay, cool. So we do that, right? So because I wasn't gonna allow him to do things that's not gonna help him. You know what I mean? Another thing too, sometimes students hop on and they may have some different limitations, right? It's like, oh, I feel a bit awkward asking that question. Dude, just fucking ask it, own that shit. And one of the biggest things that we focus on in real sales system as well is that it's just instilling the certainty in the way you think, in the way you talk, the way you carry yourself in general, because a lot of closers lack that. And because of that, I mean, they may have the same scripts, they may have the same words, but prospects feel that the words are a bit empty, is lacking a bit of substance because of that. So I always say, hey dude, you gotta just have radical self-belief in yourself. Now, don't be arrogant to the point that keep doing the same things over and over, expect different result. That doesn't make sense, okay? If something's not working, fucking go fix it. If you don't know how to do it, go find people who can help you fix it. That being said, and you gotta have urgency within yourself too, right? So do you have urgency? I have a lot of urgency with my goals. And sometimes too, students ask, it's like, hey, how are you able to come up with these things so quickly if a prospect is being vague or they're giving you an objection? Number one, I've trained, right? I studied, bro, right? But another part too is that I don't buy into my own limitations. Or whenever I do buy into my limitations for a little bit, I get over myself quite quickly. As an example, I'm not really vague with my goals, right? I don't think like, oh, I think I kind of want that. Oh, I think it would be great. Oh, it would be nice too. No, I'm like, simply it's an intention that I'm making. This is what I'm going to do. I said I was going to make 10K a month and I hit 10K a month. I said I was going to hit 20K a month and I hit 20K a month. I hit my first 10K a month in the first 3 months of high ticket closing. It was for an Aussie offer though. So 11K a month Aussie. So I guess less than that in US dollars. But proper US dollars on a US offer, that was within 6 months of starting high ticket closing. A couple of months after that, I had 20K a month. I had 23K. A couple of months after that, I had 36K. I had my 30K a month. These things, I said I was going to do it, and I'm doing it. I said with my own business, I said I was going to hit 40K a month, and I hit 40K a month. Right, so all these things I was going to do. And I said, okay, I saw this apartment in Dubai. I want to live there. I said I was going to do that, and I did it. I moved apartments now, but back then it was my 3 apartments. I did that. I said I was going to live by the beach. I live by the beach now. So all these things I said I was going to do, but I didn't just have like, oh, I believe I can do, but I'll do nothing with it. No. I set the intention, I say I'm gonna do it, and I take the fucking actions. If I don't know how to do it, I hire people to do it. So I hire mentors, masterminds, coaching, whatever it may be, right? Or different things. So, okay, tell me what to do, help me fix this, and I'll do it. And I do it. I mean, it's not rocket science, right? So if somebody's being vague, I'm not vague with my goals. So I'm not gonna let you just keep being vague, because we gotta coach prospects on how to talk. Because the way the prospects say things, the way they talk is how they think. Because if they say, oh, it would be nice too, that's how they're thinking, right? They're lacking commitment and accountability. And so if that's how they think, guess how they're gonna act? The exact same way. You see the correlation? It all connects with each other. So if we coach them on how to talk, if we correct their language, then we can start to shift the way they think, to shift their beliefs. And if we can shift their beliefs, now we can start working on shifting the identity, shifting the way they're being, and shifting their actions. Therefore, in a sales context, by the end of the call, now they can actually move forward, but also they take action on their goal, which is very, very important. And so that's the thing. It's the same thing, whether it be an objection handling or getting a vague answer. If I don't buy into my own limitations, if I hold myself to such a high standard, why would I let you buy into your own limitations? Why would I let you hold yourself to a lower standard? Doesn't make any sense. Now, if it's somebody that I don't give a shit about, as an example, if I see a homeless person, it's like, oh, whatever. I don't care. You do you, boo-boo. Doesn't affect my life. Now, if it's a friend that I really care about, then yeah, I'm going to hold that to a higher standard. Hey, dude, let's get after it. What are we doing here? So with prospects too, because it's our job, it's literally our role to hold them to a higher standard. Now, whether the prospect does it or not, my life doesn't, especially you'll get to a certain point where the little commission checks really doesn't change you. In the beginning, it was something I was telling myself, oh, it doesn't change. But I've literally gotten to a point where it really doesn't change. And sometimes I'm glad that some people don't buy, right? Because I'm like, especially because I'm training for my own offer. I'm the one doing coaching for my own offer. I'm like, I don't want to work with that person. I can be more picky at this point, right? But as a closer, I'm like, okay, it's my job to close people. Let's just do that, right? It's a bit of a different story. But nonetheless, you see the difference there, right? I move with urgency. I'm going to help you move with urgency because it has helped me. Therefore, I know it's going to help you. And we both know you not moving with urgency, that's not going to help you. It may not be the literal words you're saying. However, it's really the attitude. And then now the word traction and things like that, that almost comes as a byproduct. It's good to know word traction reframes. Definitely know that. Study, bro, right? Study. You should be able to do that like with your eyes closed. If someone woke up at 3 a.m, hey dude, I want to go think about it. Your mouth should already be moving. And also another thing too, these days I've been holding myself to a higher standard too, right? These days I'm like, you know what? I think I've gotten a bit comfortable. I hate to admit, because once you conquer one mountain, once you hit one milestone, then now you're like, okay, now what, right? It has happened literally every level of my life. It's like 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K a month, 40K a month, and above that. I think I'm getting a little, I don't want to say stagnant, but a little bit comfortable. So what do I gotta do? Let me put myself in a more difficult situation, right? So now I surround myself with people that are making way more money than me. I feel like a small fish, right? Even in this building, I'm probably the brokest guy here. I go to that lobby, I see Rolls Royce, I see Ferrari, I see all those kind of things. And also another thing too, is I started doing more difficult things in my life. So I started doing boxing, okay? Newbie here. But I took up my first boxing lesson when I was in Paris. I did that. I was like, wow, fuck, this is a bit hard. It's a bit difficult, right? You're running out of breath. You're doing these things. Your coach is on your ass. You're like, no, I'll keep punching me. Okay, fuck, right? My legs are tired. My shoulders are tired. I want to take these fucking gloves off. And in Dubai, I go to this one gym. And the same thing too. It's difficult. But now I force myself to do difficult things because, I think Tony Robbins or somebody said, right? How you do one thing is how you do everything. It's not always true, but a lot of times you can translate those different characteristics as well. Because in boxing, it's like I'm doing these difficult things, then therefore, if I am able to, if I'm being that person where I can persevere, if I keep going despite of feeling tired and despite it being difficult, then on a sales call, or running a business, or talking to people on the internet, on Zoom, giving some resistance, giving some objections, I can keep going. Right? So either one of us is going to say, no, it's not me. We're going to keep going though. Okay? So, because I'm not going to quit on myself. I'm not going to quit on you. That's the whole attitude. You see? Now, that's the inner game and the mentality side of things. If you want to see more of the tactical and the process side of things, like, hey, what do I say with different objections? We have an entire video on that, okay? So go here, or go to the first link in the description box below. You'll be able to see some of the objection handling decision trees. That way, you know what to say as well. All right, I'll see you there.